Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the November 24th, 2014 meeting of the Revere City Council Zoning Subcommittee. My name is Ward 4 Council Stephen Reardon. We have this evening our most of our panel subcommittee, including Councilor Penta, Councilor Patch, Councilor Ganasso, and also with us this evening is Councilor Haas. There are two matters before the subcommittee this evening. The first is identified as application C-14-11, an application by New Singular Wireless PCS LLC by its manager AT&T Mobility Corp., 550 Cochituate Road, Suites 13 and 14, Framingham, requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council to modify an existing telecommunications facility by replacing 6 of its existing 9 antennae and adding 3 new antennae for a total of 12 antennae associated equipment at 134 Railroad Street, Revere, Massachusetts. Is the applicant present, and would they like to speak before the subcommittee? If so, please approach the microphone, push the little button, and tell us who you are and where you are from.
Okay, thank you. My name's Michael Dolan, here on behalf of New Singular Wireless. As the committee may remember, at the last hearing there were several questions raised where it sounded like the committee wanted to do some more due diligence in the interim regarding issues such as whether there are outstanding taxes. I think the committee members were going to speak with the city attorney regarding what rights and abilities the committee would have to condition an approval on somehow improving the appearance of the building. There were also some questions about the whether there are any building code violations at the property. So in the interim, my client has responded to the various questions that were raised by the subcommittee. We sent a letter dated November 20 to this committee. We have spoken with the city attorney, Mr. Capizzi. I believe he was going to reach out to this committee as well with his thoughts in response to our responses. I'm unaware of any issues he had, but I don't want to speak for him. We also commented separately to the Revere Site Plan Review Committee on the various items that they had referenced that they had wanted to condition any approval on, and by separate correspondence dated November 20, we responded to those as well to the Site Plan Review Committee. So at this time, I would open it up to the extent that any of you have any questions about those correspondence, assuming you have them, or whether you have any feedback as far as some of the due diligence. I know that the building inspector went out, I believe, and looked at the property, and we're unaware of any code violations having been raised.
Yes, thank you. I would tend to agree with you on that. If you could summarize your response to site plan review and whomever you may have contacted. I understand that there was not so much the legal aspect with Attorney Capizzi. I get that the apparently changes in the law now are kind of putting us in a bad spot as far as denying permits for telecommunications based on the fact that it is a presumably matter that is an FCC matter and not subject to the review, at least as far as denial of the permit. And it's a law that is essentially, if not enforceable now, will soon be enforceable. Is that an accurate interpretation of what your position on this?
Yes, it is. Section 6409 of the Federal Middle Class Tax Relief and Job Creation Act afforded wireless telecommunications providers certain rights to the extent it was modifying existing facilities, which is what we're doing here. We've got 9 antennas already up on the building. We're just looking to swap out 6 of them with 6 new ones and add 3 additional ones. It's that type of eligible facility, as it's referred to, where one is either just modifying what they have or attaching to an existing tower that there are certain rights afforded wireless companies.
All right, so that is what is the environment in which we're living, but if you could just summarize for the subcommittee the response you did receive from the various authorities, other than on the legal point, because I think the legal point's
Sure.
been discussed enough.
With respect to the one of the issues raised by the subcommittee at the last hearing related to outstanding taxes due, my client AT&T, who is the applicant, is current on any taxes, assessments, betterments, that real estate taxes that it may owe to the city of Revere. I have been told by the property owner that they are current on their real estate taxes. As part of our application, we did request confirmation from the city of Revere Director of Finance, so I'm hoping that there is demonstrable evidence before the committee that taxes are current. As far as there was some concern about the parking of trucks and vehicles associated with this property being outside of property confines. I have spoken to the landowner, and they tell me that every vehicle that comes to that property and leaves that property does so over either their own property or a public way, and when those vehicles are on site, they are located on their property. If there's any, if it's brought to our attention that that's not the case, that would surely be corrected. But I am told that my client is sensitive to that. I know one of the abutters has had an issue with that, and there's an extra vigilance now to make sure that that's not an issue. As far as the building code violations, my client is unaware of any. I know there was a fire code violation that was fixed within the past year at the fire code, but the fire chief signed off on, the fire inspector. As far as the site plan review committee, one of their comments was that the antennas shall be adequately grounded to prevent lightning attraction. Sheet G1 of our zoning drawings shows the extensive grounding system we have for this facility. There's a current one in place, and the proposed facility would be similarly grounded in accordance with city, state, and federal law. There was a comment they had about our facility not jeopardizing the structural integrity of the building, and the small appurtenance on the roof on which the antennas are attached. Our plans were prepared by licensed professional engineers, factoring in structural considerations, and our facility would be built in accordance with city, state, and federal safety and building code and structural guidelines. Another comment they had was that the antennas should be facade mounted up on that structure on the roof, and set back 10 feet, at least 10 feet from the edge of the roof. As our plans demonstrate, we are in excess of 10 feet from the edge of the roof, and the antennas are being mounted in the same way the current ones are, which are on a facade-type basis. So if one were to drive by after we do this work, I highly doubt anyone would even know there had been a change. One nice thing about our facility in this case, too, is that the equipment cabinets that go with the antennas are located inside the building and out of view. Another comment related to periodic inspections regarding the structural integrity of our facility. We, as I've stated, would operate our facility and have it constructed and maintained in accordance with all applicable laws, and we have a periodic maintenance and inspections from our personnel. We have folks go out on average between one and two times a month to confirm that the facility is operating pursuant to applicable law. Another comment related to similarly that the facility would be operated in compliance with state and federal requirements. Once again, we have our technicians out at the site once or twice a month to confirm this. Similarly, our initial design and the construction of the facility will be in compliance with state and federal requirements. The last comment they had related to the antennas being of a neutral color or compatible with, that's identical to or compatible with the color of the supporting structure. What we're proposing here is that the antennas be the same color as the antennas currently located, AT&T's antennas on the roof of the building. If the board had a different color, we'd of course be amenable to that. And then the last comment I want to make is that there are several other wireless telecommunications companies that have their equipment up on the roof. Some of that may or may not be of an aesthetic concern to you, but we cannot control what they're doing up there, and I just want to emphasize that all we have are some antennas up on the on top of the penthouse, if you will, on the roof of the building. Most of our, if not all of our equipment cabinets are inside the building, so we're just really adding 3 antennas and some ancillary equipment, antenna-type related equipment up next to it. So there may be, as I say, some concerns about what others have done with big brackets and sleds out on the sides of the roof and things like that that have a very definite visual appearance, but those aren't our antennas, and we have no control over trying to mitigate any visual impact.
Thank you for those comments. I would first of all like to welcome Council Novoselsky and Council Giannino to the chamber, and I would now at this point open it up to the questions of the subcommittee first, and then the other city councils, if any. Councilor Penta, who's the ward councilor, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was a great presentation. The only thing is, I have a couple issues on the timing of this for tonight, and I'll tell you why. One of them is, and the chairman is an attorney, so I'd take his word for it, and I wouldn't hold it up for just that, our city solicitor's opinion on what we asked him. But the building inspector did go down there. I tried to put a call into him. I actually did put a couple calls into him. He didn't call me back, but Frank Stringy called me back and told me he went down there with him. So he planned to walk the building together. And I was told that there's work being done down there on some antennas. Now, I don't know if they're yours, who antennas they were, but this is what I was told. And when Frank Stringy said to me, well, I thought the city council issued the permit, special permit. I said, that's not true, it's still in committee. So he said, well, you better get in touch with the building inspector and let him know that and have him go back down. Now, I did put a call to the building inspector. He hasn't called me back on it. But like you said, that building has numerous antennas on it. It's not all yours. And this isn't really geared towards you. It's a landlord down there that to me, has not been a good landlord to the neighborhood and everything else. It's an area that's been blighted, and if you look down there, you even have trash company down there that beautified the whole, their area. I mean, and your landlord, it's not you, your landlord has a building, like I said, maybe 10, 15 new windows in there, and the other windows are probably 140 years old. I don't know. And as far as the trucks for the past year, and you said they've been using the roadway. They have been using the roadway to park a couple of the trucks alongside the building, which is illegal. There's no parking on that street, Railroad Ave. Since you've came in front of us, I have seen those trucks moved. But for the last couple of years, there's been trucks there probably 28 days out of a month, if not 30 days out of a month. But unfortunately, I haven't had the building inspector call me back. I know the building inspector, with Frank Stringy, said that he's not an engineer, and he would not comment on if the building was structurally sound, basically. As far as violations, you're 100% right what you said. He didn't see violation or anything else. But as far as the building being structurally sound, he wasn't going to give an opinion on that. He recommended the landlord to get his engineer to give a recommendation on if it sounds, it's structurally sound. So, I mean, those things haven't been answered. I would like to hold it over 1 week. We're meeting next week and hold it over 1 week to have the building inspector give us some update on it, and also to call the traffic commission and see if any more trucks been parked on that road, because it's been a nuisance, and I know a couple signs were worn out 6, 8 months ago, which were replaced with new signs, so, and there was still parking there. And like I said, it's out of the way for the ticket writers to go, but I know the ticket writer went down there a couple of times and did ticket a couple trucks. They actually leave just the, not the tractor itself, but they leave the whole bed there, just on the street. You know, like I said, none of this is geared towards you. You're only, you know, but the landlord, we have to deal with. He's benefiting from this. He's going to make money off of this. And you know, well, you're shaking your head. No, why would he want the antennas on his building?
Well, I think why he's shaking his head is what we're proposing to do here is covered under our lease. They're not getting any extra money for us.
You're adding 3 new antennas and not getting any more money?
No.
Why would he even want them done then? I don't.
Because he agreed to it at the beginning that we could swap stuff. You know, we could.
Well, it's probably written in the lease, but I'm saying he's been benefiting from these antennas from day one, without putting any money on a building that's an eyesore. And to me, you know, it just, he's been doing business there, like I said, without throwing any money back into the business. And I would like to hear from the building inspector personally myself, but that being said, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gonassa.
Mr. Chairman, the Ward Councilor Penta makes a good point in reference to the building inspector making a determination, because he's our source that we go to, and if there's a fire within our community and there's damage to a building, the first one that goes in and expects is the building inspector to tell you if the building is structurally sound. And what I would suggest is that when we call this back, if we do, in a subsequent subcommittee meeting, that we ask the city's building inspector be in attendance to see if we don't have to wait for correspondence. We can have him come here and review it with us. If the ward councilor is concerned about the structure being unsafe, well, one of his primary jobs as a ward councilor is to make certain that the area residents are living in a safe environment. And this is part of the safe environment. I know this is somewhat removed from a lot of homes, but it's still within the realm of possibility if some damage could occur from this building. And I noticed that not on this particular site, that on all sites were being inundated with these antennas and stuff. And I'm not taking exception to your particular proposal because you're just closing off an area that's already been given. But I just think that the big paintbrush that we've been using to allow these wireless networks that come into our city has been too. We've just been giving it out too easy, and I think that there should be more review in the process of this. And any time a councilor has concerns, I think this body ought to pay attention and listen to what the councilor is saying to at least make certain that he or she feels comfortable with the position. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. I'd like to first of all welcome Council President Zamboto and Councilor Powers, Ward 5 Councilor Powers, to the chamber as well. Is any of the councilors have any comments or questions? Well, in deference...
Actually, could I just add one more comment?
Certainly.
I would want the council to know that there was an elderly, I think the principal of the entity that owned this property was an elderly fella, and he has since passed away a year or so ago, and a new generation of owners are involved who took upon them the updating of the fire system, things like that. So, what may have happened in the past, I'm hoping will be corrected going forward. I know these owners, the principals of the owners seem very diligent. They're, any information we need, they're right on top of it. They're trying to do the right thing. So I hope the council will see that things have gotten better with this change in the entity controlling the ownership.
Well, thank you. And, I agree with you. Cooperation, I think, is the key to this thing, and I'd like to think that the new property owners would be more cooperative to the extent that the old ones hadn't been. My only comment would be in deference to the council, the ward councilor. I certainly would hold this over a week to get the opinion of the building inspector. I think, first of all, and let me say this, You guys have represented your clients really, really well here. It's not often we get this kind of a response on these things, and I appreciate that, and I think the council appreciates the fact that you went to the trouble to check these things out, in maybe even though you weren't required to do it, and I appreciate that. Obviously, you have an interest in the structural soundness of the building because it's your equipment that you've probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to put up there. So certainly you have an interest in seeing that it's a sound building. We have an interest in seeing that it's not only sound, but it's something that's presentable for the rest of the community. My biggest issue, of course, is the structural soundness. We have other city departments that are required to make sure that, whose job it is to make sure that some of the more aesthetic issues are dealt with, and I'll leave it to them to do that. So I think what I would ask to have the clerk do is once again ask the building inspector to give us a final report, provide that to Councilor Penta, and if he's satisfied with it, I really don't see the need for the building inspector to come forward here. As far as I know, there are no active complaints for the building right down there right now, and I think it doesn't make sense to waste any more resources, and I'm sorry if I have to bring you back here next week. As I say, I will not be here at the meeting next week, so I would probably appoint a surrogate to handle the meeting at that point. But it seems to me that if we waiting one more week wouldn't hurt anything to get the word of the building inspector. Once again, I do appreciate the time and effort you've put into responding to our concerns, and I would anticipate that, given the structural soundness of the building, the matter should go forward, as you suggest. We don't have a lot of, we don't want a legal fight over this either, on something we can't win. So I will hold this in subcommittee for another week, and you can contact the clerk if there's a necessity for you to appear on the next meeting. Well, I'll leave it up to you. Let's put it that way. All right?
We'll be here.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Next order of business before the subcommittee is item C-14-14, Edward Burke, trustee, 23 to 33 Rowan Road, Realty Trust, 324 Quincy Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to validate and legalize a non-conforming townhouse unit on lot 17 and 35-10A at 23 Rowan Street, Revere, Massachusetts. And I would like to welcome Councilors Arrigo and Morabito to the chamber as well. It looks like we have a full house here at this point. Please state your name and your address, sir.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, Councilors. James Cipolletta, 385 Broadway, Revere, on behalf of the petitioner. Concisely as possible, I would just point out that this is a property that was forever known as Ford's Village in the Beachmont section of Revere, and over the years, it has had essentially 23 operating residential units at some stage of completion, and since at least 1992, 23 of those units have been completed. During the course of the conveyance, which occurred in late 2013, it was discovered that there are 22 certificates of occupancy for 23 units. And the certificates of occupancy date back around to 1992 and have been issued sort of on a staggering basis since after the blizzard of '78, when the compound sustained a substantial amount of damage. So in order to square the number of certificates of occupancy on record at the building department with the number of units that actually exist on the property, we went to the site plan review committee, we met with them, met with the building inspector a number of times, and due to his diligent efforts in search and those of his staff in the office, they were able to come up with all of the, we think, all of the existing certificates of occupancy, and it was suggested to us to make the record clean that we apply for a special permit to validate the 23rd unit. That will clear the title, will clear the, will square the records at the building department with what actually exists down at what's still referred to as Ford's Village. We attached all of what I had and what the SPR and the building department was able to give us, along with the plans and the photos showing the units. I believe also the ward councilor may have viewed this compound a couple of months ago when we first were talking about coming to the city council. So it's more or less a housekeeping item for purposes of satisfying the title insurance company and the conveyancers and those people and the insurance companies. If you have any questions from the subcommittee, we'd be happy to answer them at this time. By the way, John Serra, who's property manager and part owner, is here as well.
Any comments? Councilor Penta, do you have anything to add?
No, the only one, I actually agree with the councilor. When that building was built in 2013, the whole complex was sold. That's how this came about, that the department was illegal. So they honored that and respected that, went to proper channels to make it legal and everything else. And I have no problems with this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Penta. Yeah, I believe, if no one else has a comment, I believe this is obviously a clerical, more or less a clerical oversight from way back when. It shouldn't have happened, and we'd like to think, and I honestly believe, that we're working towards a more sound way of tracking these things, coordinating them, and documenting them, and this is an obvious oversight that should have been taken care of in the first instance. So with that, I would accept a motion from the subcommittee to report out favorably. All right, then we'll be reporting this out favorably to the full city council meeting in about 30 seconds, I guess, or so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There being no other business before the subcommittee, I'll close this November 24th meeting of the Revere Zoning Subcommittee. There are several matters on this evening for public hearings, and it may require us to have another subcommittee meeting sometime before the end of the year, but the city clerk will have all that information for anybody interested. Other than that, the city council should be meeting shortly. Thank you.